How much pressure is on their best players? Now, is Kyler at the top of that list? Yeah. The pressure, I think, is on Kyler more than anybody right now, but more than any one individual. But you made this point in the pre-show meeting, Wolf, prehab, that it's not just Kyler that has to step up at this point. I mean, you said earlier, and I agree with you, they could win a game. They could win this game on Sunday if Kyler really doesn't play great. It's not really – I wouldn't test it, but that it is possible. They could also lose a game where Kyler does play great. I mean, you need collectively to come across the board and find a way to win this game.
Yeah, and not only that, too, you're going to need Kyler Murray to play consistently well in all 4 of these games, I think, for you to actually have a chance of winning these 4 games.
Yeah.
They're going to need him to actually be Kyler Murray in the good form of Kyler Murray that we have seen. And for the most part overall, again, before this 3-game losing streak, going into the bye, Kyler Murray was having a very good season. That's what I'm willing to say. He was having a very good season going into the bye. 6-4, of course, coming out, not so much. He's thrown 5 picks in 3 games. Kyler's got to right the ship and get this thing going. It starts with him. But it's also Marvin Harrison Jr. It's also Paris Johnson Jr. We can't have 3 penalties. We can't have 3 holding calls. We can't. Paris Johnson Jr. had 4 holding calls in 12 games before the Seattle game. You just can't have that where you get 3 holding calls on that. Paris knows that better than anyone else.
Yeah.
They need him to be the rock over there on their offensive line. Trey McBride, James Conner. It goes on and on. Budda Baker, Kaiser White, Jalen Thompson, Garrett Williams. They need their best players right now to step up and make plays.
Cardinals have had a lot of injuries this season. That's a very real thing. But their best players are available on Sunday. You know, they've lost some key players, but when you really, if you just take a step back and look at this roster, it's like, okay, well, who are their best players? Who are their most important players? Kyler Murray, James Conner, Trey McBride, Paris Johnson Jr., like you just said. Marv, I mean, I understand he's still a rookie. Budda, Kaiser White, Mac Wilson, I would throw in that category on defense as well, as at least being up there. Like, your main guys are all playing on Sunday. So what do you always say? Like, in the key moments, your best players have to be the ones to step up and make big plays. The Cardinals have been hit, I would argue, harder than a lot of teams by the injuries this season. But with their season on the line on Sunday, it's not a situation where it's like, man, we need our best players to step up, but these 4 are out. Like, their best players, for the most part, are available on Sunday. So, like, now's the time.
No, now is the time right now, and it starts with Kyler Murray once again. I'm talking about protecting the ball. The Patriots are in the bottom third in the league in picks. They're number 23, as a matter of fact. But they do get their hands on a lot of balls, ladies and gentlemen. They do. They're number 14 in the league in passes defensed, which is saying something about their man coverage schemes and how well they play man. By the way, there's only one other team in the league that plays more man coverage than the New England Patriots. Think about that for a minute, Gerard Mayo. So, once again, Kyler's got to protect the ball. No picks, no turnovers, and he needs to get back to throwing 3 picks every 10 games.
Yeah, that'd be a much better ratio to get to. And look, I mean, the reality is the questions are going to persist on Kyler if he doesn't step up in these final 4 games. I think anybody that looks at Kyler, if you're trying to look at it reasonably, if you're a Cardinals fan, I understand there are some that just don't feel like he's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback.
That's not me.
Yeah, no, he is a good quarterback, but I think you can also have the fair question of, when's he going to start stepping up in big games?
Yes.
His best games tend to be earlier in the season, or the first half of the season, or the first 10 games. But now is an opportunity. And look, last year's kind of a throwaway year because he was coming back in the second half. There weren't big games. There wasn't a big stage. And the year before, he was hurt.
That's right.
You can go through the first 5 years of his career and really point to just the one where they started 10-2 and he was putting up amazing numbers, and then they fell apart and he didn't do anything in the playoff game. That's the only one you can really point to and say he trailed off. But if he trails off again this year, that conversation is going to start up again.
No, you're right about that. And, again, my expectation is Kyler is going to play very, very well in these last 4 games. Run the ball when the opportunity presents itself. Again, I'm not talking about scheduled runs with Kyler Murray. I'm not. I think teams are kind of on to that right now in big moments. I think they're looking for Kyler Murray to actually get the opportunity. I think Kyler needs to look for more opportunities to run the ball because all the man coverage the Patriots play is legit. They play a lot of man cover. Okay, could they put a spy on Kyler? I think, yeah, that's a real possibility. I think we could see a lot of that, putting a spy on Kyler Murray. But at the same time, if that spy misses the tackle, if Kyler's out and he hits the 4-3 button and suddenly he gets around that guy and you're playing man cover, that's the opportunity. The opportunity. I'm going to be really surprised if, in fact, the Patriots go out and they do play as much man cover as they have in the past. I'm going to be really, really surprised.
So you're saying even just because you have Kyler, it could disrupt them from doing what they are the most comfortable doing. I feel like the Patriots, last year they had decent pass defense last year. I mean, when they haven't been totally healthy, I guess, this year for the most part. Like Kyle Duggar just came back a couple games ago. I don't know. This is a team that's not. They're an NFL team. You know what I mean? They're not anything more than that. You don't need to get your season right on Sunday by beating the Chiefs, or you don't have to go beat Detroit, or you don't have to go beat Buffalo. You have to go beat a team that, quite honestly, if you can't beat, you're not going to make the playoffs anyway. And that's the way this is all played out. You have zero margin for error at this point.
Yes. Also, too, I keep focusing on Kyler, but it's so important. Protect the ball, run the ball when the opportunity presents itself. Throw the ball with confidence. Do that. This is something Zoe was actually talking about.
Yeah, he's been talking about this for a couple weeks.
Yes. The Patriots are number 24 in sacks per attempt. They don't get a ton of pressure on their opponents, basically. They don't. And it was really cool because I was checking out this Pro Football Focus. And again, it's a nice tool. It's not the end-all, be-all, but it's a nice tool. They had the disruption rate is what they called it. I thought it was a really interesting way to measure quarterback pressure. Listen to this, Space and Onions. The disruption rate is throwaways. Okay, you're throwing the ball away, right?
Yeah.
Plus hits when thrown. In other words, hitting a quarterback when he's throwing the ball. Batted passes at the line, passes defense. Quarterback scrambles plus sacks. All of those, add them all together and divide it by total drop back. Minus spikes into the ground. Okay,
so set those aside because those are intentional. Okay.
That disruption rate, that's the disruption rate right now. Was interesting. The Arizona Cardinals, number 7, with a 20.19% disruption rate. Number 7.
From the defensive side.
From the defensive side, yes.
Okay.
Okay, the Patriots, of course, number 28 in the NFL. So
that would bode well.
It would. It would bode well, but I thought it was really interesting to see that here the Arizona Cardinals, and we've seen this with their sacks per attempt as well.
Yeah.
Now, remember, that's just sacks per attempt, but this is much deeper. Throwaways, hit when thrown, batted passes, quarterback scrambles, and sacks added together. It's called the disruption rate. I thought that was really fascinating.
That sounds very similar to the intensity index for basketball.
It does, as a matter of fact. I think it's a better way to measure, even over sacks per attempt.
You see, those kind of analytics are the ones I like more because you're looking to try and find a way to tell a story that doesn't necessarily just show up in the stats.
Yeah.
Where I don't love analytics or when you have a coach on the sidelines just being like, well, this is what the chart says, so this is what I have to do. Like that stuff right there, that informs a lot about the team you're playing and about what your team is or isn't doing well.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.